if someone goes off on a long trip, it might be an even more profound and tearful goodbye. And in this case, it might be centuries or decades, so it's an even longer goodbye. But it isn't. There's a difference between goodbye for a week, goodbye for a month, goodbye for years, and goodbye forever. So, many of our members who preserve their parents, or preserve their spouses, or they're preserved with their spouses or family members. So the goodbye is just we'll meet again kind of a goodbye.
And the question also is, when they are brought back, and I'm going to speak it as if they will be, because with the law of accelerating returns that Ray Kurzweil talks about, it very well be, and I guess with the assistance of nanotechnology in human systems, it looks like it may not be even 25 years. It may be before that. But when they're brought back, do they have memory of anything?
Well, if we believe that memory is that the function of the brain is to save memories. So if you preserve the brain well, the memories should be there.
So the person would come back and they would remember who they are and what their name is and their identity as if in a deep sleep.
Yes, it's exactly. That's the idea. Yeah. It's just like, as I say, it's the same thing that happens with hypothermic surgery. When you sleep, you have brain waves, but during hypothermic surgery, when people are cooled down and given barbiturates, it's similar. There's no brain waves, but on the other hand, the person can still be warmed up again or recover and have the brain waves return.
Or have there been people that have ever been afraid of you and your work and the work of cryonics?
Well, yeah, I can. There's a lot of people just don't want to think of death. I can remember. I mean, I guess many people have it to various degrees. I guess it's like looking at the sun. You know the sun is there, but you don't want to stare at it. I can remember. I don't know. There was a fellow here once. He was just. It's just an extreme example. We had a coffin on display, and he couldn't stand the fact there was a coffin there. He didn't like the idea. I mean, I must admit I had to get used to it myself. But just thinking about death, I mean, I love life. That's why I got involved in this, and then to suddenly be surrounded by images of death and having to deal with what is conventionally viewed as death, it was not very appetizing to me. But I seem to have gotten used to it to some extent.
Is part of the paradigm of cryonics to beat death?
Well, some people think that you can. I mean, in my mind, it's more to postpone it. It's just some people believe that in physical immortality and think that cryonics is a means to achieving physical immortality. I don't happen to be one of those people. I think we can maybe postpone death by hundreds or thousands of years, perhaps, but I think sooner or later something's going to get you. You know, a meteor is going to hit you, or your spaceship's going to fly into a star or something. But,
or an ice age.
Whatever. But I think sooner or later, cryonics is just like, like a heart transplant. Heart transplants once made people think of Frankenstein, but people don't think about Frankenstein now when they talk about heart transplants. So it's a bit of getting used to. But on the other hand, a heart transplant just gives you more years. It doesn't give you immortality. I think the same is true for cryonics. It's just another technique to extend your life.
In the book, I guess it's a 3-volume text called Nanomedicine. Is it Robert Freitas?
That's correct, yeah.
Said that he wouldn't be surprised if the first cryonics revival was attempted by 2040 to 2050. Do you think that, or do you think it could happen before?
Well, I think that may be a reasonable. It's an optimistic guess. It's a little more optimistic than I usually say 50 years, which is I don't know. It's not that much further than what he's saying. But anyway, the first revival will be of people preserved under technologies that are a lot better than what we have now. It's a LIFO process, last in, first out. The people who come out first will be the ones who've been preserved under the most advanced technologies, which we don't have currently.
Why is that policy like that?
Well, it's not a policy. I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that as technology improves,
yes,
you improve your ability to preserve people, to preserve them with a minimum amount of damage, and one of the major problems we're dealing with now is cryoprotectant toxicity. These antifreeze compounds are toxic, and so hopefully the technology will advance to make less toxic antifreeze compounds
or non-toxic.
Or non-toxic, and if we could have totally non-toxic cryoprotectants, then we pretty well be there with reversible cryopreservation.
Do you think nanotechnology will help with that?
No, I don't. It's different, something different. It's not going to be. If we had reversible cryopreservation today to suspended animation, they wouldn't. That would only be part of the problem. That we need to address the problem of curing all diseases and especially the disease of aging. One of our members is 100 years old. One of our patients is 100 years old. Doesn't want to come back as a person who's 100 years old. He wants to be rejuvenated. So that's only part of the puzzle. We have to be able to rejuvenate people to the prime of life, or at least, to a fairly youthful condition before attempting to bring them back.
It's interesting. We will need a revolution in 21st century diagnostics. I interviewed Dr. Art Robinson, who has been working on a whole new paradigm and structural apparatus for 21st century diagnostics to miniaturize them and quicken and actually put them in the care and in the dominion of regular people. And I did an interview with him. It was fascinating. But between this and the work that Ray Kurzweil and his associates are doing in life extension and in nanotechnology and the law of accelerating returns and just the kind of stuff that's at work, it really could happen.
Well, that's what I think. That's why I'm doing this.
But what about the philosophical and spiritual side of this? What about for the people that say, look, by doing this, you're acting as a creator. You're actually interfering with the creator's plan for that being. What do you think?
There were people who said that about heart transplants, as I mentioned before, that heart transplants are, mucking around with Mother Nature. Actually, some people even said that about trains, and, there was a lot of resistance to a lot of mechanization. And it's just a general fear of progress in a way. I think. I don't think there's any. I think we've been, if we're mucking around, we've been given the intelligence to advance our technology and to improve our condition. So we should use it to the fullest. We're not mucking around with Mother Nature. We are mucking around with Mother Nature by using penicillin to cure various diseases. So why not, carry on the disease curing process and cure the disease of aging?
I get that. I totally get that. But you know how most people think, well, you have a life, people have an expectation of trying to live beyond 70. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? There's like a subconscious thing. They hope to live beyond 70 and live as close to 100. But I think there's something subconscious in most people that they prepare to not have quality of life from 70 to 100.
Well, 200 years ago, people were living about half as long as they are now. So it hasn't been. Maybe 200 years ago, people were prepared to live half as long. So the change has been fairly slow, and people have gotten used to it, I suppose.